Last week, an incredibly brave human being released a video that kind of blew my mind and will probably blow your mind too if you haven't seen it already. So an MIT-trained neurosurgeon quit his job and explained to the entire world last week why he quit his job. And it doesn't have anything to do with office drama or anything like that. It has to do with the way the medical system is set up, the way surgeries help and don't help the human body, and really it has to do with what it means to be a human being who feels good about his or her place in the world. So this guy, Dr. Goobie, made a video that's quite long, about 45 minutes long. He's standing in the mosquito-infested wilderness, and he delivers some incredible pieces of wisdom that you and I are gonna watch here, and he's gonna be talking about some key pieces about the medical system that you need to hear, about back surgery that you need to hear, about the realities of what spinal surgery can even do for you. So let's jump right into it. This clip is from around 8 minutes into the video, and he gets into some pretty deep, vulnerable stuff here.
So in my last year of residency, I learned how to do spine surgery because that's what most neurosurgeons do. It's the most common thing. It's what a regular neurosurgery job is fixing people's worn out necks and backs. And I graduated, and I got my first job, and I knew that something was not right away. I had good partners, I had good hospitals that I worked at, but something was not right. I was very unhappy. And on the surface, it didn't make sense. I was getting paid very well. It was a very well-respected job. I had good colleagues, I had good support, but I was the most unhappy that I've ever been, and I couldn't really figure it out for a long time.
When you think about a neurosurgeon, you're generally going to think of them as somebody who's well paid and pretty happy with their life because they're probably pulling down about $500,000 a year. But for this guy to come out and say, hey, I knew something was wrong from the beginning, should clue you into what's happening within the medical system. He's going to explain this a little bit more, but when you think about any job you've had that you hated, it probably had something to do with your having to do stuff you think is pointless and for which you are unappreciated. So he doesn't quite understand it at this point, but a couple minutes later, he gets right to the heart of it. It's around 10 minutes and 12 seconds in.
Going back to medical school, when I took that oath and I had that older professor say that your job is to relieve suffering, that's what I understood of what it means to be a good doctor. And I had learned all these fancy spine surgery techniques to do all this incredible surgery work through tiny cuts. It's called minimally invasive spine surgery. It's the latest technology. We use navigation like a GPS inside the operating room. Like all the latest techniques, I learned, and I learned how to do well, and I did them, and I helped a lot of people out. But there were way more people that I couldn't help. And that's because...
So his training made him believe, hey, my job is to help people. But is my job really helping people? How would you feel if you were trained to help people, but everything you were shown how to do didn't seem to actually help?
What I realized later on is that those aren't fixing the problem. There's so many people with back problems, neck pain, back pain, nerve pain down their arms and legs. Surgery might make them better for a little bit, but it didn't address what caused that disc to wear out, or the disc to bulge, or the joint to get loose, or the the disc in between the bones to disappear, and then the bones are rubbing on each other. Those surgeries, they don't address that.
If you have ever been considering spinal surgery or any other joint surgery, what he just said there is so vitally important. Surgery doesn't fix the root cause. At best, it's just providing a short-term solution.
So what I was doing was I was doing the surgeries that I learned how to do. I was trying to help people, but these surgeries, they weren't fixing the problem. They would help some people feel better. Some people would feel the same. Some people would be worse. A lot of people I saw in clinic, I had to tell them that, oh, surgery is not going to help you. And of course, they would be devastated because I was sort of their last hope.
There is so much honesty and bravery for this former surgeon to be saying what he's saying. Everything he's saying is actually borne out in the research literature as well. The surgeries that surgeons do to fix your back pain or your hip pain or whatever, they're not guaranteed. They're nowhere near guaranteed. And this surgeon had to face it and see it every day and honestly assess whether or not what he was doing was helping people. And he saw, well, sometimes they got better, sometimes they're the same, and sometimes they get worse. So it's not like you can say, oh, my back hurts, the surgeon's gonna fix me. If you have a well-trained surgeon with experience and he's still telling you, well, you might get better, you might get worse, you might be the same, what does that say about the actual surgery?
That all weighed really heavy because I thought I was going to relieve suffering. And I did relieve some suffering, but I saw so much more suffering that I couldn't relieve even if I tried to do surgery.
And so then I want to jump way ahead in the video where he actually talks about the medical system. Why are surgeries like spinal surgery still being done to fix people when they clearly don't fix the root cause and don't deliver on the results?
But the way that everything is set up in the whole country, it's not any particular hospital. The way things are set up is that the hospital needs to make money. They need to make money, they need to grow economically. They need to grow economically. The problem there is that if you figure out a way to help patients heal, and that way doesn't include a pill or a surgery, well, then the hospital and the doctor are in big trouble, because if you figure out a way to help people heal and you can't charge them for it, well, then you've just worked yourself out of a job.
So that basically nails it. This is something that I've been saying to people about shoulder surgery, hip surgery, and also spinal surgery for years. You have to understand exactly what Dr. Goobie is saying here. The hospitals depend on the revenue that they get from expensive procedures. If they don't keep pushing and performing these expensive procedures, these hospitals close. You have to lay off nurses and doctors. If you find a cheap, easily accessible cure for people's back pain, hip pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, whatever, then you have killed the golden goose. So you're not allowed to propagate and promote solutions that people have control of themselves, that they can easily do themselves. Maybe not always easily, but which they can actually do without needing to go through a highly trained, highly paid professional. That's a system that's designed to make you make bad decisions and choose procedures that are not actually in your best interest.
But I really felt like the focus of medicine wasn't in the right place. It wasn't in healing, it was in making money from surgeries and pills and images, whatever you can make money from.
Again, it's all about how much revenue can be derived from procedures, whether it's your x-rays, your pills, your specialist consult. the surgery you eventually get. The hospital makes money, all the professionals involved make money. Dr. Goobie doesn't even get into the insurance side of this, but I'll link to another doctor who has actually discussed this in detail. But the short version of this is that in order for insurance companies to increase their profits, they also need to increase their expenditures because they are required by law to spend a certain percentage of what they bring in. They're only allowed to keep a certain percentage as profit. And so if you want the total amount of profit you're making to go up next year, you have to make sure that every single year, the amount you're spending is going up as well, so that you can justify increasing the premiums so that the size of the pie is getting bigger, so that even though you're keeping that same percentage of pie, the pie is getting larger and larger, so the amount of pie you're getting to keep as the insurance company is getting larger and larger. Now, Dr. Goobie does go on to explain in this video how miserable he was and the terrible toll it was taking on his mind and his body and his spirit. And I really encourage you, wherever you are in your life, to watch the video, to listen to it. I encourage you to just put it on 2x speed because there are a lot of moments of silence where he's thinking. So you can just listen to it as a podcast and hear some of his thoughts and hear some of the things that really were torturing him and really drove him to make this final decision of, you know what, I'm done, I've got to get out of here. I talk a lot about hip surgery, knee surgery, shoulder surgery, spinal surgery, even foot surgery on this channel. And everything you've just heard Dr. Goobie say is going to be applicable to whatever surgery you're considering. When you look at the success rates of hip surgeries and shoulder surgeries, you're going to find that there is a lot of gobbledygook. There is a lot of effort to conceal the true success rates in weird little numbers and allowing surgeons to determine what success really means instead of asking patients what it really means. And Dr. Goobie is a really admirable example of a surgeon who was really being honest with his results, honest in assessing whether he was succeeding and really paying attention to whether his patients were really doing better. And he didn't let the sunk costs blind him to the realities of what he was doing. And he didn't allow himself to get sucked into, well, I'm making good money, so that's it. That's all. That's the only motivation I need to keep doing this. But not everybody makes that moral decision, and that really does show a level of moral character that I think all of us should applaud and all of us should take as an example wherever we are in our lives and whatever decisions we're trying to make about our livelihoods. If you are thinking about some sort of joint surgery and you're interested in learning a little more about the history of orthopedic surgery, looking at some of the evidence, and also understanding all of these perverse incentives, I do have an article that I'll link to in the description box that I encourage you to read. My figurative hat is off to Dr. Goobie. This was such an incredible display of bravery and honesty. If you're out there, Dr. Goobie, seeing this, I'd love to talk to you. If you're a friend of Dr. Goobie's and you can somehow get us in touch so that I can interview him and speak with him, I would love that, and I appreciate your help. If you have any other thoughts you'd like to share about this video, drop them in the comment section down below. Subscribe to this channel, and if you're looking for ways to rebuild your body at home, go to uprighthealth.com/DIY to find a program that'll work for you. As always, I hope you remember that pain sucks, life shouldn't.